Hi, Lois and Rawan. I'm so delighted to have you on the podcast today on a Saturday. Thank you so much for your kindness to join me on your weekend. And I invited you on the podcast because I know you have both been brilliant in terms of preparing for life post graduation. So we met in the context of the University of Central Lancashire. The three of us are three alumni of the university. I studied there some many years ago, but you ladies have just graduated, and I was so impressed by everything you did in the lead up to your graduation to increase your chances of employability. And I thought it would be really good to have a discussion and share your experience with current students, soon to be graduates, who I know will have a lot to learn from you. So before we dive into our discussion, I would like, and my listeners would like to learn more about you. So shall we start with Lois, please?
Yeah, of course. So hi guys, my name's Lois. I graduated with a first class degree in business and marketing from the University of Central Lancashire in July of 2025. Since then, I've progressed onto a graduate programme in operations management, which I'm really enjoying so far. Um, it's been a big change of industry, because a lot of my experience when I was in university was in customer service, events management, and social media. But I've really enjoyed the change, and I've found that getting into this new role has given me a lot of appreciation for the transferable skills I developed as a student.
That's fantastic. So, yeah, thank you. I'm really looking forward to learning more about how you've developed those skills. Rawan.
Hi everyone, my name is Rowan. I moved to the UK when I was 17 as an international student and graduated with Lewis in 2025 with a first class degree in international business, also from the University of Lancashire. Throughout uni, I did take on multiple roles. I was a three-time elected course rep. I worked in student support and at the SME Center. I also completed two abroad internships. So I was very involved in student engagement, and I now work at the university as a graduate student achievement officer. So I'm still supporting students, but in the aspect of careers, mentoring, and overall student experience.
Brilliant. So yeah, I told you everyone, like these two ladies are incredible and we all want to hear more from them. So if you could tell us the key things that you did to make yourselves more employable while at university and gain those broader transferable skills that you've mentioned, Lois. And I'd like us to start with Rawan, please.
Okay, so I'd probably have a few main messages, but so I'll list them out. First one is be say yes before you feel ready. So I think one of the biggest things I did was say yes to opportunities before I felt ready, because the truth is you never really do feel ready. Even when you're doing it, you feel so scared, and that's okay. But if you wait for yourself to have confidence, you'll genuinely just feel like you're waiting forever. The point of these opportunities is that they help you build confidence, so don't use confidence as an excuse to say no to things. Just say yes and go from there. Another thing I would say is be very proactive. So I try to stand out, which I know is hard, but do it in genuine ways. Especially in this job market, if your intentions are genuine, it would show. For example, I've done things like creating a portfolio, not in a way to showcase what like a different brand, but I treated it as an I am the brand myself. So my
Mhm.
portfolio was all about me to sell me. And what I did was I printed it out, and I had my business card on it as well. And I took it around with interviews, but you can also just walk around town and give it to organizations that you think you would want to work with. And I directly reached out to organizations by email and asked them if I can get involved, even if there was no openings and there was no positions, not for the sake of money or finding a job, but just to work with them for the sake of learning.
Mhm.
So I just asked if I can volunteer, if there's anything that I can do, just to get involved, because I genuinely did believe in the work that they do. And it did help me land multiple positions because of that. Another thing as well is universities are so much more than a degree. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm very academically motivated and I find validation in academics 100%. But there's a lot of transferable skills that you can gain from that. And I think a lot of students got so hung up on job titles. For example, if you worked at Tesco's, you're like, oh yeah, what am I going to use that for? But there's so many skills that you would have learned working at Tesco's or any other convenience store that you can showcase. And just the way you articulate it is what actually matters, to showcase that, yeah, I have these skills and this is how I can do it in the position if you chose me. So whether it's like cafe work, volunteering, or even shadowing, all of them do count. So just trying to stand out as much as possible, and even if you're scared, honestly, just go into it scared, do it scared, and once it's over, you'll be happy that you did it in the first place.
Yeah, this is really, really good advice. Well, thank you, Rawan. And I like what you said about submitting application to companies while you are a student and offering to do work for them, even on a voluntary basis, just so you can gain that experience. I think that's what being proactive means. Thank you for that. How about you, Lois?
Um, I really have to agree with what Rawan said. Massively, I think university brings so many opportunities to you,
Mm,
and when else are you going to have the opportunity to take advantage of all those opportunities? There was so much I did at university, including I was also a course rep. I also did an international internship, which went on to provide me further opportunities to develop my skills. And as well, getting involved in stuff and putting my hand up and saying, yes, I will do it, meant that a lot of people would then actively find me out. So there's this thing that I'm really doing. I think Lois would be great for, so I'm going to get her involved, which is, casting that net and saying, I am here, I'm going to work for it, I'm going to do what I need to do.
yeah.
It really helps people get involved. And I think it's all about being intentional with the things you're putting your time into.
Mm,
You can do things sometimes for the sake of it, which is, you're just, I'm doing this for, yeah, I think doing this opportunity, it's going to look good on my CV, and it's a line on your CV then. But taking it further and actually resonating with things that you care about and you
mhm,
are willing to invest your time into, working with the students union, I know that's something that Rowan and I both had a real passion for, and speaking up for our fellow students, it meant that people acknowledged us and we were seen as valuable assets, not just someone who was turning up for the meeting, sitting there for half an hour, saying, I've got nothing to say, and then leaving. Because, we
mhm,
were able to make a difference and we were able to speak for other students, and that's valuable experience. For example, me being a course rep got me invited onto the Dean's Advisory Board for the School of Business, which was an incredible position. And now me working in a corporate setting gave me experience of being in those meetings with high importance stakeholders. So it was something that, because I worked hard on one thing and I really put the time in to invest
mhm.
and make sure I was working intentionally and powerfully, um, it it developed into more than I ever thought it would.
Yeah, that's true. So the advice for students would be to get involved with your university, right? Um, like don't be passive because there are multiple opportunities, and I know some universities have an employability team, and I know the University of Lancashire have one as well. So just sort of rub shoulders with the right people and gain experience, gain skills, have valuable things to put on your CV, and then you never know what other opportunities come from those initial ones, and you're raising your profile, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you're seen, you become more visible and more credible, and you have content for LinkedIn too, because I do remember
Fair
both of you posting
enough.
about
Yeah.
what you do. But that shows that you were doing valuable things and professional, in a professional setting whilst at university. You weren't like completely invisible, and then just appeared on on that professional platform, LinkedIn, after graduation, which I think is can be a mistake that people can make. So, and I know, Lois, from our one of our previous discussions, that you did a lot of volunteering, right? Um, and how did that help you? And what sort of skills do you think you've gained?
So I volunteered across a couple different areas. I volunteered on a community project called the Food and Craft Fair, which I absolutely loved. Around that time of year, people would not be able to walk past me without me going, by the way, don't forget the event's coming up. I really enjoyed it because there was a lot of opportunities for student businesses to get involved. And, I there are so many stories I've got of businesses attending for the first time and being able to network and speak with people and all that kind of stuff, which it was a very valuable opportunity for these small businesses because it was, a chance for them to have a free stall in that kind of market environment, which is very popular for small businesses. So I'd encourage people to see, if you want to be an entrepreneur, what opportunities does your university have to support you there. Um, but as well, it meant that I sat in on meetings. I got to understand a little bit more about budget and marketing. I used to run the social media pages, so I was out there getting content, working with people. Also on the day, we were running the event. So do people need help with stuff? Is there a conversation that needs to be had with some storeholders? Are they unhappy about something? That kind of thing. And it was always such a lovely experience and made you feel so happy to be there. Um, but as well, I was a lot more confident walking into other areas, and I was able to say, yes, I have had experience leading a project because I helped this run. And it's those lessons that you learn along the way which are so valuable.
Yeah.
As well, as part of my university course, I did a charity fundraising event, which was as part of one of our modules, and I found that to be really fun because we got set the challenge of, you get a certain amount of budget and you've got to then go on and fundraise for charity off that, which we were able to use some of my connections I had made through working on these events to push it even further, which I really enjoyed. And it was also great to work around a common cause. I found that our entire class got together really on that day. And it is one of my favourite memories from university, everyone coming together and being so excited to support each other. It's really great when you get a community like that.
That's fantastic. So good life experiences as well, not just from a professional perspective. Thank you. Um, have you got any advice for students in their final year of university who might feel behind in terms of employability and skill development, and they might listen to you and think, "Oh yeah, I wish I did all those things, but I didn't, and now I feel a little bit lost." Rawan, do you have any thoughts?
I think that is a very, very good question because a lot of students feel that way, if not all of us feel that way. The biggest thing I would say is just letting go of the idea of catching up, honestly. Like, it's just such a draining thing to just continuously think about, like, oh, I'm just so behind. I need to catch up. I need to catch up. As silly as it sounds, no one is ever behind or ahead. Everyone just has their own path, and just accepting the fact that you're in your own path and you don't have to be like anyone else or comparing yourself to anyone else. That's when you're gonna start growing. What I would say is just get started, like no matter what year you're in, even if it's in your final year, your final month, just get started no matter where you are. And if you can't get a job, look for volunteering, look for shadowing. Even just email someone that inspires and be like, hey, is it okay if I shadow you for like 2 weeks just to learn from you? Try to find a mentor. Any short-term opportunities, even if they're not out there, you go and find them yourselves or create them yourself. And then what I would also say is use the career services as early as possible. Like, university has so many like student support services that are there to support you. So if you have access to them, just use them as early as possible because they can actually guide you and teach you so many things before you graduate. And yeah, just getting rid of the idea of feeling like you need to catch up, because at the end of the day, it's your life. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone else but yourself, and just keep going.
Yeah, yeah, and get started, like you said. Thank you. That's brilliant, Rawan. And Louise, have you got any advice you'd like to share?
Yeah. The first thing I'd say, don't compare yourself to your classmates. Everyone is on very different journeys, and some people are going to have more hurdles in the way than other people. There might be someone who doesn't have to work as much as you, which means that they get to spend more time on developmental opportunities, for example. So, getting that comparison out of the way, if even if you need to turn off LinkedIn for a bit, like uninstall it on your phone, only access it on your computer, because LinkedIn is a very it's a very exaggerated platform, I find. Everyone's talking very confidently about everything they've done, but they don't show the entirety of the situation. Everyone has those moments, but social media is a very polished place, I think. But I'd
Mhm.
say so limit your exposure to that kind of environment. I'd say the number one thing is to try and figure out where you want to go. Knowing your destination helps you plan out the journey a lot more. So, for example, if you don't know at all what job you want to do, go and
Mhm.
find someone on LinkedIn who has a job that you really want to get into. Say, for example, you want to find someone who works as an operations manager, project manager, financial auditor, or a social media marketer, like a brand manager, that kind of thing. Go and
Mhm.
find someone with that and see what got them to that position. If you have no idea at all, go and take some career quizzes, speak to your friends and family. What do you think I'd be good at? Maybe see if there was an element of a certain job that you really enjoyed, and that kind of thing, and just pick and choose that way. So it feels a little bit less daunting. Go and speak to your careers team. As Rowan said, that is the number one thing I would do because they are there to help you. And I would speak to them, see what advice you can get, see if there's any resources you can access, and actually do the work they give you. They could say, yeah, well, if you write your CV, do this, do that, we will go and do it. And I've known friends who had great, so much I need to do, didn't do it, and then a few weeks later were complaining, well, I've not had any help. Well, we kind of, you need to put the effort in to get stuff out.
Yes.
Um, but I think as well, it's all about understanding what you can do with the time you've got.
Mhm.
And graduate opportunities, I know were very pushed, heavily pushed when we were in university. And I am someone who got one. I am very fortunate to be in the position that I am. Um, but it's not for everyone, and these schemes can be very competitive. So, for example, look for an apprenticeship. There are some incredible opportunities out there for level 4, 5, 6, 7 study that can skill you in a specific industry requirement. Or as well, there could be some entry level roles that will have career progression that you can look into. Don't just have that really narrow area that you're looking into. Like, cast your net as wide as you can and take
Mhm.
advantage of everything you can. Because at the end of the day, it is horrible, but you're only looking for one yes. And that one yes amongst a sea of no's is going to be perfect. And the other thing I would say is, are you going to be telling yourself one day, or is this day one?
Mhm. Yeah, oh, that's so good. Lois, we need to write this down. Lois and Rawan. And I do think it is an intimidating environment for several reasons. Like you said, one, we have a lot more visibility into what other people are doing, but we only see the positive side of their professional and personal lives on social media. And then secondly, we also have a job market that is really turbulent at the moment. And we have the huge technological disruption that's brought about by AI. So I do understand and resonate with students who might feel overwhelmed by what's happening out there. So I think your advice really kind of helps focus their attention on things that they can do that are entirely under their control, in their power. You can't control the macroeconomic conditions, but you can decide what you're going to do starting from today. And I myself have actually used the career services at the University of Lancashire back in 2011, believe it or not. And they too have helped me with internships. For me, it was marketing. So I definitely recommend and encourage students to do so. Okay, so moving on to our next topic, and this is an interesting one. Is there anything at all that you wish you would have done differently during your studies with regards to job hunting, employability, etc., that yeah you'd like to share with current students?
I don't know if there's that many things I wish I would have done differently, but one thing I would say, which we were just talking about, is I wish I had used the student support services earlier and used it as much as I needed to. Maybe it's because of my culture background, but I would have never imagined that when I moved abroad to a university that there would be this many people who are willing to help and support you and this much guidance that are there. But if I were to know and if I were to use them earlier, I know that I would have had a clear path for me. especially as someone who felt completely lost and didn't know what they want to do with their life or how to move forward. I genuinely just did wish that I used them earlier. But even if you did have a clear path, either ways, I think just getting using all your advantages and opportunities, like Lewis says, when you're in university, you have so many opportunities. Just taking them all and like just using them all while you're still a student, because being a student is such a privilege. So just using it as much as you can.
Mm, yeah, that's a good one, Rowan. Thank you. Louise?
Yeah, I think I would say I really prioritize professional development. Maybe didn't focus much on personal. I think now I've gone into the working world, I'm looking at setting habits, I'm looking at being intentional with my time. I don't want to sound really cliche when I'm saying this stuff, but genuinely, I am sitting and reading and trying to understand how I can create sustainable working patterns. Because I think it is something when you're under pressure, you are likely to just keep going 110% all of the time, and that can lead to things like burnout, overwhelm, and that can be detrimental to your progress.
So much.
So, I finished in university, um and I was like, okay, I've got so much free time now. I'm going to be able to do so much stuff. And then when I got to do that, I was like, what do I actually do? Because I'd focused so much on, succeeding, doing really well in university, getting my degree, and as well building my CV. That was 110% of everything I did. So I got to the end of it and it was like, okay, so we need to find some hobbies now. Um,
That's so
which
true.
is, yeah, but it's, I'm being honest and I'm saying that, that
Mhm.
personal side of things you can't ignore, and you've got to look after yourself through this process, because being a student is an honor, but it can be hard, and you're
Yeah.
going to have moments of overwhelm, and things can get tough. So just don't forget, yourself throughout that process.
That's so good, Lois. Thank you. That's right. It's good for people to remember that they can't do everything at once, right? You have to pace yourself, and there are also seasons in life when you might have more time for certain things. So I think it's great that you're starting to prioritize that personal development and put more time into that. So now, so you both have started a new position, a new role. So you've been full-time employees for about like up to 6 months, I think, right? After you graduated in July. Um, are there any particular learnings that stick out to you that you think would be helpful for students and soon to be graduates?
um Straight off the bat, I've got two things. Create your habits and routines early on. So for
Mm,
me, I make an effort to write down everything I do in a week, so that I can stay on top of it. I make sure I take a bit of time to prep for meetings. I always get in. I spend time getting myself ready for the day, make myself my cup of tea, that kind of thing, and it just
mm,
helps me get ready for the day, so I can make sure I'm delivering business value as soon as possible.
yeah,
Um, Number two, I would say, is write everything down.
right.
Physically, I've gone through about 3 notebooks in my 6 months already, but genuinely, I am learning so much all the time about everything. And for me, physically writing it down, there's research out there that demonstrates that
Action.
the physical effort that goes into it, yeah, of writing it down, it sticks better in your mind than typing it. And as well,
Yeah.
it just means that if someone mentions something, I can very quickly jot it down, and in a meeting later on that day, oh, what was that thing we were talking about? I've got it written down. And it helps me a lot. So I'd say 100% value your notebook.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I was definitely a note-taking person as well. Because there's so much coming at you as well during those first few months, and you have to have methods of recording that information so you can come back to it. And I think, never be afraid to ask questions, and it's okay if you forget some certain things, but if you have to keep asking the same question twice, three times, four times, that becomes a problem. So yeah, I think that was a very good point of like note taking and making sure that you absorb information, because it's really intense. The beginning of any new job can be really really intense and tiring. So yeah, I think that there's a brilliant brilliant point, Louise. Thank you. Rawan?
I also have two main points as well, and this is still a learning progress for me because I'm going through them as we speak. I think it was like the biggest shock for me going from university to full time. But two big learnings I would say is communication, as in ask questions. No question is a silly question, and that is such an important message because sometimes you'd feel like you might even be just the youngest person in meetings or the youngest person in the room, and that can feel intimidating for you to like, oh no, they're probably gonna like think I'm very silly, or they're not gonna like my ideas, or just say it, just ask that question. Trust me, like people are way more supportive than you think that they are, and they are willing to hear you. There's a reason why you are in that room, and it's because they want to hear from you and hear your ideas. So just that communication truly does change a lot of things. And the second thing, which is something I still struggle with a lot, is boundaries. Because I was so academically motivated and I always put 110%, like Lewis said, in my studies and my professional development. I sometimes forget that projects are not assignments. So you can't just take them home with you and work on them until midnight because once it
Mm.
hits 5 o'clock, you're meant to clock out and close that laptop, and they're not assignments. You're not being graded for them. So it's just that remembering that it's my time to rest and that I can only work when I'm in the office, when it's working hours, but outside of working hours, it's me time, reconnecting with those hobbies that I didn't have time for, like Lewis said, in uni to do them. So it's just these two things, building boundaries and communicating.
So good, Rawan. Yeah, I mean, you're learning some really, really important lessons during this time, and I think like the sooner you can implement those learnings, the better. We keep hearing that, you know, work-life balance is a big thing, and it will look different for different people in different seasons of your life. But I think aiming for giving it your all at work and then truly resting and having quality time with your friends, with your family after work, is, you know, is important. At least having that goal in mind and striving for that, as opposed to being totally consumed by work, which can happen, especially if you really enjoy what you do, especially if you want to perform very well and you're very ambitious, and then you kind of run yourself into the ground if you don't remember that there are other spheres to your life as well, not just the professional one. Oh, by the way, I feel it would be only honest if I also added my own note and insight into what I wish I would have done differently as a student, because I definitely didn't get everything right in that season. And I think for me, it was, I wish I actually started to gain professional hands-on experience a lot sooner, because I was a really studious person and spent so many hours in that library at the University of Lancashire. It was basically my second home. And I think because I was like so into that and really enjoyed, I kind of took my foot off the pedal with regards to professional development or pursuing opportunities. So yeah, well, thank you both so much for being here. I think this was a really, really insightful conversation, and there's so much for people to learn from you. You are on LinkedIn, so all our listeners can go ahead and find you on there, and I'm going to put your names in the on the web podcast page so they can find you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great.
Thank you so much. Thank you.